Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Behind the Pages, a month-long series celebrating National Entrepreneurship Month. My name is Michael Parrish Dudell. I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, and the author of Shark Tank Jumpstart Your Business and Shark Tank Secrets to Success, the official business books from ABC's hit show Shark Tank. Joining me today are Hannah and Mark Lim, the husband and wife team behind Lollaland, which makes innovative and fun infant and toddler goods. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so I love the story of your business because not only is it about a really great product and about two people that have worked really hard, but you have such a long history together. And when I hear from readers who read your chapter, that's the first thing they tell me. You two have known each other and been dating since you were 12 and 13, is that right?
That's right. It's a little scary because I have a daughter now who just turned 9, but yeah, I can honestly say that when I was 13 and I first asked Hannah out on a date, I just knew, and as creepy as it sounds, I just knew that she was the one. I have letters way back when saying like, I know I'll marry you. So to see it all happen, it's pretty wild.
That's so crazy. So running a business together now, not only are you married, but you have this long history together. How has that helped and maybe even hurt sometimes your business?
I think it's actually helped more than it has hurt. A lot of husband-wife teams say that it's really difficult and challenging to work together, but I think because we have such a solid foundation of communication, and that's been sort of cultivated over many, many years, it really helps because we know not to step on each other's toes. We know how not to push each other's buttons. We really divide our roles not equally, but we divide our roles and we just kind of stay in our own space.
I also want to add that, even though we have very good communication, I think both of us approach it as, look, it's just something that we always need to work on. Even though I've known her all my life, there are times where there's miscommunications. And I think we both have a kind of stance to say, look, we need to work on this. We need to get better. And that kind of really helps everything move along. Anytime we kind of take each other for granted or say, oh, we got this, or I know how she feels. The truth is I don't sometimes. And so because of our attitude towards that, I think that's why it makes it work.
Yeah, so many people saw you on Shark Tank and they saw the Lolla Cup, but in fact, Lolla Cup was just the beginning. Your company has expanded now, it's called Lollaland, and it has other products, other SKUs. Will you just give me a little bit of information? Just tell me about the origin story of how that cup first came to be and how you're expanding and growing today.
Okay, sure. So the cup started from very organically from the birth of our daughter, who she was just one of those kids that hit every milestone, a few months behind schedule. And she had all these challenges with different things. And one of them was transitioning to a sippy cup, which should be such an easy, kind of seamless thing. And yet it was super challenging to get her to drink from these toddler cups that have spill-proof valves. Great for mom, not so great for the end user. So I just wanted to develop a cup that was really easy for kids to use, easy for parents to clean, and that's where the Lolla Cup was born. We went on Shark Tank with it, and we created a demand for more products. And so what we ended up doing was adding the mealtime set next, so that we have a whole line of made in USA plates, bowls, these little really fun dipping cups kids love to dip. So we have that whole line of mealtime sets, and then we now added glass baby bottles, and we have a really great high quality playmat as well now that can go from sort of pre-birth all the way up to when the child's 10.
Yeah, that's great. I know that both of you didn't actually, that's not entirely true. Mark, you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but you weren't headed in that path. Hannah, you actually didn't want to be an entrepreneur because both of you have fathers that are entrepreneurs. You saw the struggle. You saw what it takes. How has your idea about what it means to be an entrepreneur changed over the last, 4 or 5 years since you've been running this company?
It changes all the time. I mean, I think it's kind of double-sided. We've had success and exposure through the Shark Tank and through our the branding, but it hasn't been like an easy ride by any means. It's been a long, hard-fought battle. And I think in some ways, some of the advice that we get from our mentors and people that we look up to say, well, because you didn't get it easily, you won't let it go away quickly. And so we've been very methodical about how we make decisions. But I tell you, it is an emotional roller coaster. It is the farthest thing from easy. Trust me, when people say we look in the mirror and we try to question ourselves all the time, and you're like, are we really cut out for this, or is this really happening? Should we continue down this path? That happens more often than you believe.
Yeah, especially when it comes to challenges, I really feel like you two have had your fair share of challenge. I was on a panel a few weeks ago talking about the book, and they asked me which entrepreneur or which company went through the most challenge, the most hardship, and I think without a doubt that has been your company. And that really is a testament to your ability to continue to grow, to continue to lead, and to see that vision out. But will you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you faced? Because of course I know about them, I spend time with you, but for the folks watching, talk to me about the hard times.
I guess I'll talk about our personal struggles first, and then I'll defer to Mark about, all the stuff that happens on the production line. That's sort of a hardship. So, we had 3 kids during the course of having the business, and that alone is a huge challenge. I remember Mark Cuban saying, this business would have been really great if you just didn't have kids. It's kind of a funny comment because it adds this element as a husband, wife, mom, dad team. I mean, once you become a parent, that's another full-time job. So that's been definitely a struggle. I personally had some health issues that prevented me from essentially leaving the house for a year and a half, let alone work for almost 2 years. So, what started as a business together became sort of Mark's, I don't want to say burden, but really like every responsibility fell on his shoulders for a long time, for 2 years. And in spite of that, we were able to grow and, we're still around. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. So the company celebrated its 5-year anniversary. So.
You guys are on like year 55 now or something, 65. I don't know how many years you've been together.
We celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary this August as well, so that was exciting.
Wow, congratulations. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of health struggles, there's been personal stuff. There's also been some professional and some business struggles. I know perhaps maybe the biggest one is that when your episode aired, of course when you're on Shark Tank and you're lucky enough to get an episode to air, everyone's really excited because there's a major sales boost. And of course that happened to you, but then something happened at the manufacturing plant that changed everything. Can you tell us about that?
One of our production molds. So the production mold is like, think of this huge, giant steel part that weighs like over 1,000 pounds that stamps out your part. So, it closes, the plastic fills in, and then it lets it go. That component cost us over 150 grand when we first started. One of the components went down. And there was no workaround. There was no way to put a Band-Aid on it. There was no way to continue business. And so we had to shut down shipping for 6 months. And I'll tell you, when you get a break like airing on Shark Tank and you have thousands and thousands of people just, really wanting your product and letting everyone down at the exact same time, including your sharks and yourself and all that stuff, it was a really hard 6 months, and we were pretty certain that we were out of business, that it was over. It was a good run, a great story. Nice try, Mark and Hannah. But thankfully, we persevered. We said sorry. We manned up to it. We've been able to grow since.
We really did our best to keep all the customers updated through the process. We probably sent out at least 10 emails over that 6-month time period to the individual consumers, keeping them updated on production, what was going on. And, that I think that really resonated with people because we only had about 5 orders canceled out of the thousands.
That's amazing. I spend a lot of time talking to entrepreneurs that say they have a really great idea, but maybe they don't have the money to grow it immediately. They're not really sure what to do first. And I mentioned your story about how much success you've had with trade shows and that might be the right avenue to pursue if you're a certain type of company. Talk to me about how you've used trade shows both as a way to build your network and your community, but also as a way to really get your product out there.
Yeah, I think trade shows is a very important component to really kind of physically meet with the purchasers, the ones that are making the decisions to bring it into their brick and mortar store. Early on, we tried a couple, and we said, and they're very expensive, they're very time consuming, and they're very difficult. But because we were full throttle dedicated to getting the word out there, even with Hannah getting sick, we dedicated ourselves to 10 trade shows, I think, in that first year that we pushed through in 2013. And did they all pay for themselves? No. Do we see immediate results? No. But I can't tell you how many times buyers have said, I've seen you. This is like the ninth time I've talked to you and heard your pitch, and now I'm ready. And that sometimes takes over the course of 2 years. And so, I can't say that it's going to continue that way and that people are still going to spend money to attend these trade shows because things change so much, just so quickly. But if it weren't for our strategy, I don't think that we would have gotten the 1,000+ stores that we sell to.
Yeah. I want to talk about your time in the tank for a little bit because it was definitely a dramatic episode. You were in there, you were really trying to sell your product, and you ended up getting a deal with 2 sharks instead of 1. You got a deal with Mark Cuban and Robert. How has that relationship been? How have you navigated both sharks? And when you left the tank, how did you feel?
Gosh, where do we begin? I guess I'll answer how did we feel? So the minute we left the tank, it was a huge rush of emotions. It felt, there was so much drama leading up to just getting in there to get that opportunity to pitch that it just felt like, wow, okay, this company that we worked so hard to start, and even we had parents saying, "Are you sure about this?" And that, all these people with their doubts, right? And then you go in the tank and you get a deal with 2 business moguls and you feel somewhat validated. So I think there's that, I don't know, this rush of emotions, that sense of validation, that sense of like, oh my gosh, this is just the beginning now. We have a lot to do, but how exciting. Yeah, I don't know.
And I think, we knew the expectation was that the work is just starting. And so I feel like a lot of times, people misunderstand to say, oh, you basically won the lottery. Now you can sit back and enjoy your, cocktail at 4:00 or something. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean, we have never worked. I mean, as soon as it aired, it was on, and we have worked extremely hard. And I gotta say, like, the work has not really let up. We're faced with different challenges, and of course, our relationship with Mark and Robert. I mean, it's been 5 years. It's definitely changed. I mean, in the beginning, we were one of Mark's earliest deals, and so he really treated us kind of like, like sentimental and all those things. But now it's at the time where he's going to want to start seeing some major returns, and the pressure's on. And so I think they've evolved, we've evolved, but the work itself has never let up. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. We have a no complaining policy. We got an opportunity of a lifetime, so if we're tired or whatever, we can say we're tired, but we can't really complain about the work because people dream to be in our situation.
Yeah, so we spent time together last year when I was writing the book in California, your office, and one of the last things you said when we were talking about your company, you said the next 12 months is do or die for us. This is going to be the time when we really figure out what this business is going to be, how we're growing, how we're scaling. And so we're not quite 12 months out yet, but we're not that far from 12 months. What has happened in the last year, and where are you at moving forward?
Wow, gosh. Okay, so a lot has happened since I think we sat down with you and first met you. One thing, actually, Robert Herjavec's team introduced us to DreamWorks, and we spent some time on the DreamWorks campus, which is not too far from our office. And they are launching an exciting new initiative called Baby by DreamWorks, and it's kind of slowly beginning to roll out, and they have partnered with Lollaland to do their hard goods. So we will be coming out with a line of sippy cups for them and some pacifiers to start, and who knows what's next. We're really excited for this opportunity. DreamWorks is always out to sort of disrupt the industry, and I think that's why we were selected. Sippy cups are somewhat ubiquitous, but I think we did a really fun take on it, so we're really excited to show you that one.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, it really is do or die for us. And so the good thing is that we've provided value. I think we have a strong brand and a strong message because all of our products are kind of inspired by our children, and our children use our products. And I think parents kind of feel that safety with our brand, and they're constantly asking for what's more. Well, as you know, we started this business with $100,000. It's really hard to scale with that amount of money, especially considering the hard costs that go behind just a single product. And so We are looking at some potential strategic partnerships, and in short, what that means is that we might be able to have more of accelerated speed in terms of what we bring out and what's in our pipeline. We have a lot of great ideas, just not enough funding behind it to really flex our muscles. But we're hoping that within the next 6 months or so, we can get those muscles in the right team behind us to really churn out what our dream and visions are.
So one of the questions that we're asking all of the entrepreneurs sort of in celebration of National Entrepreneurship Month is, what is that one piece of advice that you wish you had known or would have helped you if you had known before you started your business? What's that one nugget of wisdom that you could share to somebody who maybe is considering starting a company and just on the fence?
I'll start. I have one on the top of my head that's, a fellow female entrepreneur shared with me, and it keeps resonating with me. I wish I had known this early on. So, as an entrepreneur and just as a human being, people often, one of the questions you get asked most often is, how can I help? Like, how can I help you? Oh my gosh, you're doing such great things. And a lot of entrepreneurs especially are like, oh, that's so kind of you. And then there's no real follow-up answer to that. And just having one solid answer for that, like, how can I help? And having a very solid response, I think that's one piece of advice I'd share. Because, when you're an entrepreneur and you're just beginning, whether it's you sit down with a mentor and they say, how can I help? If you just say, look, can you share my product on your Instagram page? Or, one tangible thing. Yeah, I think that could really help move the meter a little.
Mine would be something that we're kind of really actively doing now is just adapt quickly. We had, of course, a business plan, which, people don't really realize how kind of changing that is. The business plan is just a quick snapshot of where you are now, what's your plan, but that can change in the matter of months, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it was a waste of time. It's a reference point to where you are. For us, things have changed so dramatically. I mean, parents are purchasing now on their phones and online, and people now are starting to kind of go back to brick and mortar. So how are we kind of doing things to kind of cast the widest net so that we can capture as many sales as we can? And that's something that I think was a little bit one of our weaknesses in year 1, 2, 3. But in the past 2 years, I would give us a better grade in terms of adapting. Things change, and if you can't change to capture that, you're behind.
One theme throughout your story is that no matter what's happened, no matter what challenge you faced, you really have found a great way to establish a community, whether that's in the entrepreneurial world or whether that's just your family that's been there for you. Talk to me about the role of community in your own life and in your own business, and maybe some advice you have for entrepreneurs that want to expand and amplify their community a little bit more.
Mark is probably more of the expert on this because he's been on the trade show circuit. But one thing about community is, I think when we first launched this company, we wanted to sort of appear as this big corporate company, and we sort of, didn't put ourselves out there as humans and parents behind the brand. And it wasn't until we partnered with Mark Cuban and Robert Herjavec that they were like, look, you've already been on Shark Tank. People know who you are. People know you're the two people behind the company. So just put yourselves out there. And I think that's really resonated with especially people on social media. We're not trying to appear like this big corporation that's putting products out there. We're really just trying to create an authentic community with sort of an organic, authentic voice. And I think that's all we can do and all we can offer, really.
Yeah. I think for me, it's funny because when I meet you, sometimes I'll meet someone and within the first 2 hours of grabbing drinks at the bar, I'm not afraid to show that I'm vulnerable. I'm not afraid to show that there's a lot of things that I need to work on as a businessman and what we need to work on as a company. And I think that kind of willingness to be vulnerable has kind of helped me kind of get a community to say, well, this guy seems pretty genuine, and he seems like, he's trying to help me in ways that I can help him. And I think because of that, we've been able to really get a lot of quote unquote friends in the industry. I mean, there really isn't a brand that I can think of that I don't think I could approach, at least to say, hey, we've met once. And, I'm the kind of crazy guy that would go to Germany in a trade show by myself and then ask someone, hey, do you mind if I crash your company dinner because I'm here alone and I'd love to meet your CEO? And they would look at me like, you're crazy. Like, who does that? Well, me. And now we're like great friends, and I can reach out to the CEO. I have a direct line to her. And I think it's kind of saying, well, it doesn't hurt to ask. Just be genuine. Like, go out there and be you, and then I think the community will follow. I think the folks with the air of like, I'm too cool for school, or I'm too successful to talk to you, or I don't want to tell you my secrets because you're going to beat me, I feel like they kind of close doors faster than they should.
Well, congratulations on all of your success, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
All right, thank you so much for having us.
Michael.
And if you'd like to find out more about Lollaland, you can do so at their website, lollaland.com. Thanks so much for watching another episode of Behind the Pages. We'll see you next week.